Hello, doctors. Good evening and welcome to today's discussion. We are starting now. Just put up the first question on the screen. Which of the following is not a pyrogenic cytokine? Interleukin 6, interleukin 1, tumor necrosis factor alpha, interleukin 18. Please don't move my screen. If you like, delete it like yesterday. Yes, you are correct. It's option D. That's the odd one out.
We are not hearing you.
But I'm speaking. Can others hear me?
It's not clear.
It's not from my end. Your network is bad. I can see it from here. So, which of the following statements about dysthymia is true? A. A brief transient mood disturbance. B. It's a form of chronic depression. C. Characterized by manic episodes. And option D is easily treated with short-term therapy. So, dysthymia is also known as persistent depressive disorder. So, it's chronic, it's low grade form of depression. Okay, so um, can last up to 2 years at least, and it doesn't like the distinct episodes that we call major depression or mania, all those stuff. Like it's not distinct like that, so it's kind of a bloodline, but it's still a form of depression, but like a milder form. The next question: which of the following is not a nucleic acid hybridization technique? Um, Someone can post in the group that we started. Which of the following is not a nucleic acid hybridization technique? Southern blotting, northern blotting, DNA fingerprinting, western blotting. So the way it is, southern blotting detects DNA, northern blotting is for RNA. Okay. Uh, then DNA fingerprinting, of course, you already know that it involves that. So Western blotting is for proteins. It detects proteins. Okay. Proteins are non-nucleic acids. It's DNA and RNA that have nucleic acids. So Western blotting is the only one that is not involved. It's for proteins like RNA, DNA, and of course this one. So this question says, concerning transcription, which of the following is the most accurate description? A mRNA copies that genetic materials. Hmm? Okay, mRNA copies genetic materials from DNA. Transcription mediates the transfer of hormones to the nucleus. Transcription is the process of copying a segment of DNA into. I've talked to you this thing before. Transcription is the process of copying a segment of RNA into DNA. So, which of the following is the most accurate? Told you that when you see two options that look alike, it means that it's one of them that has to be the answer. So obviously something should tell you that it's between these two. Then you now ask yourself what's the correct expression, and then you get the answer. Told you that DNA is transcribed to RNA and RNA is translated to proteins. That's the genetic dogma
Right. This
or
thing.
dogma of biology. So obviously it's option C. So a three-base sequence that codes for an amino acid is called codon, intron, exon, promoter. You should know the meaning of all these expressions. Codon, what's a codon? What's an exon? What's an intron? Yeah, I agree with you. That's a codon. exon, like they are the coding regions of a gene. Okay, so like within that DNA, some part of it codes. Okay, some part of it codes for particular characteristics. So they are called exons. Then characteristics that are going to be expressed by the body. Then the introns are the part of it that do not represent any. They are non-coding regions. Okay, so within a gene, there are coding regions and non-coding regions. So coding regions are called exons, non-coding regions are called introns. So the next question is about the endothelium of a cell. The endothelium produces all the following except fibronectin, elastin, mucopolysaccharides, collagen. Attempt the question, let's move. All right, so the last thing is the odd man out. Elastin is usually produced by smooth muscle cells. Erythrodontia, as reddish brown teeth, is seen in which condition? Congenital erythropoietic porphyria, acute intermittent porphyria, porphyria cutanea tarda, Wilson's disease. Who is this person? I'll remove you, Dr. Moma, if you do this again. So yeah, congenital erythropoietic porphyria is also known as Gunter's disease, and it's caused by deficiency in uroporphyrinogen 3 synthase. Okay, so to now lead to accumulation of porphyrins, which cause the teeth to show reddish brown under ultraviolet light, also known as erythrodontia, and they are photosensitive. So the teeth will now become photosensitive as erythrodontia. So which of the following is a tetrose sugar? We have erythrulose, ribose, fructose, and glucose. So tetrose means it has a 4 carbon structure. Okay, so ribose is 5 carbon, fructose is a hexose, glucose is also a hexose, that's 6 carbons. So glucose and fructose, they are 6 carbons, they are called hexoses. Ribose is a 5 carbons, that's pentose, while erythrulose is a tetrose. And if you remember the structure of erythrocytes, I think it's four, like it has this 4 corner appearance. So think about that. By the way, these are 2023 questions and they are all in your app. I've put all of them in the app. So don't be saying that you cannot see the question when you can go to the app and see the question. Concerning lactose intolerance, which of the following is should be consumed to generate the least reaction? Skimmed milk, yogurt, ice cream, and cottage cheese. So the special thing about yogurt, everybody should supposed to get this question. Special thing about yogurt is that produces you know because of the process of fermentation through which it's produced, that's original yogurt, right? There are some bacteria within it, okay, which are meant to produce lactase, and lactase helps to break down lactose, right? So that's why even someone that has lactose intolerance can take yogurt and still be okay. That's original yogurt we're talking of here, and it becomes digestible and it's even more palatable to the stomach, right? And also contains probiotics and things like that. So be thinking when you see questions, think. Um, so the following predisposes to tuberculosis: bauxite lung, asbestosis, silicosis, berylliosis. So what happens is that in silicosis, lung is being um, you know, so let's say a worker that works in all this coal mining and stuff like that, they get exposed to silicon and silica dust. So this increases the risk of tuberculosis because it damages the macrophages, and it reduces the ability to fight off mycobacterial infections. And you know that macrophages are very important in TB infection. Okay, They are the first defense. No, TB is like kind of T cell mediated, so macrophages play an important role. That's silicosis. Which of the following statements about megaloblastic anemia is incorrect? It is seen by it is seen only in B12 and folate deficiency, can be inherited. It is characterized by a small red blood cells. It typically shows hypersegmented neutrophils. So the answer is obvious, megaloblastic. If you know the meaning of megaloblastic, you should get the answer. Remember, you are looking for the odd one out. Of course, is option C. Where do you see small red blood cells? Is it not in uh, hypochromic uh, kind of anemia, which is iron deficiency anemia most times, and sometimes thalassemia? So when you talk about megaloblastic, you're talking about this B12 and folate deficiency. This is second year physiology. Narcolepsy is caused by a lesion in the hypothalamus, medulla, cerebellum, thalamus, and those are the options. Narcolepsy has to do with a person just falling asleep randomly, sudden abrupt uh, falling asleep, asleep even while like awake. You be standing, just fall asleep suddenly. Narcolepsy. So it's hypothalamus that controls that. There's a neurotransmitter called hypocretin that's involved. Which of the following is not reduced in iron deficiency anemia? Mean corpuscular volume, MCH, MCHC, total ion binding capacity. Yes, by virtue of the iron deficiency anemia, um, everything will be reduced because it's hypochromic anemia, right? So the only thing that will be increased, ferritin will be reduced, serum iron will be reduced, transferrin will be reduced. Then the only thing that will be increased is total ion binding, which is like the affinity of uh, the body for iron. Okay, so basically to be increased because it's reduced, iron is reduced, so the affinity will be increased, which makes sense. Then also all those MCVs, MCH, MCSC, all of them will be reduced in iron deficiency. So option D is the answer. A vegan diet instead of meat is least likely to cause which deficiency? Least likely. So you are looking for the one that is least likely. Basically, you're looking for something that is very abundant in vegetables and things like that. Another way they ask this question is like, which of the following will a vegan diet lead to deficiency of? And so, one of them there, once the person is on vegan diet, they have to be taking one of these vitamins. One of them is particularly important. So many of them will be lacking anyway, but there's one that is only gotten from animal protein amongst the options there. So that's also the second way they ask the question. It comes out in exams all the time. So the least likely one, because folate is primarily gotten from leaves, leafy green vegetables. So it's the least likely to have a deficiency. So leafy greens. I mean, uh, so it's leafy green vegetables. Why vitamin B12 is only gotten from animal sources. Okay, you cannot find vitamin B12 from plants. If you don't know it before, know it now. So it's only meats and other animal sources of protein. That's animal sources entirely. That's where you get vitamin B12. Okay, so if they turn around the question in the other way, know that vitamin B12 will be the answer. All right. This question is about methemoglobinemia. Concerning methemoglobinemia, which of the following is true? It involves an increased ability to transport oxygen. It involves an increased ability to bind oxygen. The heme ion is in the ferric state, not the ferrous state. The heme ion is in the ferrous state, not in the ferric state. I've told you the secret before. You have to keep applying it. Anywhere you see that, just know that your attention it should be drawn to that place. So the iron is oxidized in methemoglobinemia to the ferric state. So um, this form of hemoglobin, that's the ferric state, cannot transport oxygen effectively, and basically it negates the other options. The next question is about the eyes. Decreased, okay, concerning accommodation of the eye, which of the following is correct? Decreased lens curvature, contraction of the ciliary muscle, increased tension in the suspensory ligaments, relaxation of the ciliary muscle. So actually, during accommodation, the ciliary muscles will contract, then to reduce the tension in the suspensory ligaments, allowing the lens to become more convex. Okay, so basically you are increasing the curvature of the lens, so um, which will help you to focus on objects that are near. So option B is the most likely answer. Which of the following is least important in thyroid hormone synthesis? Iodine, thyroglobulin, protein synthesis, thyroid peroxidase. Well, the question says least important does not mean that the one that you finally choose is actually not important. But in this context, the other options are very, very important in relation to it, because iodine is used directly for thyroid hormone synthesis. That's why if iodine is lacking, the person can develop goiter, which is
We are not
basically the
hearing you
thyroid
clearly.
gland trying to
Hello?
respond to um, the absence of iodine. Dr. Harrison, fix your network. I think others are hearing me.
My network is full. I'm very well. It's breaking. No?
I can see your this thing. It's going on and off. I can see your network strength from here. The metabolic rate is least affected by an increase in plasma levels of A, free T3, B, free T4, C, TSH, D, TBG. option D is the least. Remember, always look at the question, what is asking you. This one, the previous one was asking about the least important. This one is asking you least affected. And so it's not just about it not being, uh, the options could still have options, or the question could still have options that can do that thing they're asking you for. But they're asking for, there's a scale of preference. So you have to look at it and consider that. So TBG is the one you consider like it's not really. An enterotoxin is caused by ADP ribosylation of a G protein. Which of the following organisms? This is the examiner's question, but if you get it, good and fine. You don't have to know everything to pass, but you should aim high anyway.
Oh, somebody tried.
Maybe if you apply some educational guessing, maybe educated guessing, maybe it will work out. You might be able to rule out at least two options just from being an enterotoxin. Because by virtue of enterotoxin, you need it to be a gram-negative organism because they are the ones that have enterotoxins. So it will now be between A and B, and then God now help you now pick the right one. So the answer is B. It is vibrocolerae um, that produces that cholera toxin. Uh, which does that stuff they are writing there. Shigella also does the same. So which of the following organisms is most abundant in the colon? Lactobacillus, Enterococcus, Escherichia coli, Bacteroides. Science, primary school sciences. Introtech.
Enterococos fecal. Now every day I dey hear this theory. Every day I dey hear this theory. Wait now. Somebody cannot play you. After all this stuff.
Okay. Bacteroides.
Okay. This thing is the
Concerning bacterial spores, which of the following is true? They contain endotoxin, which is important in pathogenesis. They can be killed by boiling at sea level, but not at high altitude. They are
the question
reproductive
that this thing
structures. They are likely,
remember.
they are highly resistant to heat, chemicals, and
Yes,
desiccation.
remember exactly. Steroids fragilis. Remember?
So spores are basically like produced when, let's say, a bacteria that likes water, when the weather is now dry, maybe dry season. In dry season, they will now turn into a spore, like a dormant form that will just stay, hang around in the environment, be flying around with the wind, and then when the rains come back again, they will regerminate from inside the spore. So it's kind of a way to avoid dying. And so they are highly resistant to heat, chemicals, desiccation, autoclaving. You know, usually require like something like autoclaving to kill spores. Apart from that, autoclaving is like concentrated heat, high temperature. So they don't contain endotoxin. It's bacteria itself that contains gram-negative bacteria itself that contains endotoxin, and it's not all of them. It's few. So you can't just say that spores contain endotoxin. So the following statements about the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. There's no exam you go for that you will not see this question. Um, it's false. So basically, your knowledge of oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve is tested and required. It has a sigmoid shape. Increased to 3 bpg concentration shifts the curve to the right, promoting oxygen dissociation. Increased pH shifts the curve to the right, promoting oxygen dissociation. Fetal hemoglobin shifts the curve to the left, reducing oxygen dissociation. They're looking for a false answer. So it means three answers are going to be correct. Only one is wrong. I told you before that the right side of the oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve is the right thing for the body. So think of it that way, you always get it. Um, Check the previous videos to learn the explanation I gave, or you can read it up. So option C is the answer. Increased pH, which is an alkaline pH, supposed to tilt the curve to the left, and it's a sigmoid shape. It means S shaped. Go and read about the Bohr effect. So the following is not associated with trichoriasis as whipworm infection. Incubation period of 4 weeks, urticaria, rectal prolapse, anemia. Trichoris trichuria. Try to whip your child. So it affects children. That's what causes a lot of anal, perianal infection and itching, and so it can actually lead to rectal prolapse and urticaria and anemia. But the incubation period is in months, not in weeks. Urticaria is basically an allergic reaction. So the human body can actually react to foreign substances, including a worm that is in the body. So urticaria can happen. Which of the following is not true about GCSPD? It causes chronic hemolytic anemia. Um, so you're looking for the false one, the odd man out. Provides some protection against malaria. It can cause intravascular hemolysis in acute infections. It is an X-linked recessive disorder. And the answer should be obvious because of I've taught you guys this thing before. If you know about genetic disorders, it should be obvious. So I told you guys that um, you don't, you don't know that sickle cell anemia, like hemolytic disorders, tend to protect against malaria. It's even propounded that is because of the preponderance of malaria in Africa that made some of these genes to arise. So it's like a mutative, um, protective mutation. So it does. What it causes actually is a episodic hemolytic anemia, not like particularly chronic hemolytic anemia. So it's in episodes and in response to triggers of rehashed over and over and over and over. Then I told you guys that structural diseases, biochemical diseases are um, autosomal recessive. Okay, but GCSPD is like the exception here. It's a biochemical disorder, but it's um, X-linked recessive. Bilirubinemia, bilirubinuria is associated with conjugated bilirubin in all the following conditions except hemolysis, intrahepatic cholestasis, biliary obstruction, Gilbert syndrome. You know, there's when you talk about hemolysis, you talk about prehepatic, hepatic, and posthepatic. So, um, prehepatic is usually due to hemolysis and things like that. And because you are having a what do you call it? A large number of unconjugated hemoglobin, it's not. The eyes may be yellow, but it's not going to appear in urine because it's unconjugated. It needs to be conjugated. That it needs to be bound to another protein and to be able to become soluble enough to pass through the urine. Okay, so that's being indirect. Or another form of it is called urobilinogen will now appear in urine, usually in uh, obstructive jaundice, which is the post-hepatic jaundice. So Gilbert syndrome is the only odd one there. Gilbert syndrome is actually not hemolytic, but it prevents the absorption of that bilirubin. Where is it? Prevents the absorption of that bilirubin, which of the following is most likely to cause muscle stiffness primarily when walking or exercising. Isaac syndrome, myotonic congenita, myotonia congenita, um, stiff person syndrome, fibromyalgia when walking or exercising. So when you're using your muscles, which of the following will cause muscle stiffness? Only one person is attempting the question. No? Good guess. Stiff person syndrome because there's stiffness in the name. So, um, myotonia congenita. Which of the following is least likely to cause pain in a young adult? Osgood Slatter disease, automoma, you again. So one thing about